Hello, and welcome to episode 92 of the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast. I'm Christine.
And I'm Sam.
And we just had some really good foods.
We did.
Which we're going to talk about a little further in the episode.
Yes.
But before we get into all that, we wanted to talk about some vegan eats that we found, right?
Yes, absolutely. We had a busy week and a busy weekend, and there was some both fabulous and not so fabulous vegan food that we encountered along the way.
Yeah. So we were at Darien Lake, New York, at the Darien Lake Amphitheater to see Dave Matthews Band.
Indeed.
And we wanted to explore all the park's vegan fare, but the park, it turned out, wasn't even open that day.
Right. We had heard that there were all kinds of new vegan options in the theme park, Six Flags Darien Lake.
Yeah.
And so we were planning on checking that out. So we specifically went up to the concert a few hours early so we'd have a chance to walk around and track those things down.
Yeah.
But it turns out that because schools aren't out yet, they're not on their full summer schedule.
Yeah.
So being that we were there on a Wednesday, the park was closed. And so we couldn't go in and track down those vegan foods that we were looking forward to.
That was disappointing.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. It's something I wish we had known that.
I know.
Going in, because we either would have gone somewhere else
first
for dinner first, and then gone to the amphitheater.
Right.
Or we would have brought something with us.
Yeah, or we would have, done a little tailgating or something.
Yeah, something.
A picnic lunch or something.
Right.
But they do have some food concessions within the area of the amphitheater.
Yes.
And so I went and found our spot on the lawn and got our chairs and all that jazz. Well, Sam went out scouting for vegan food.
I did. And so there's really only one food vendor at the Darien Lake Amphitheater, or at least that is connected with the Darien Lake Amphitheater. There were also a couple of food trucks set up on the lawn. Neither of those had any vegan options. So I opted for the one vegan item that they had available, and that was the legendary burger.
Yeah, I don't know why they call it that.
It is not properly named.
No,
that's for sure.
Definitely not legendary. And
so, yeah, I ordered 2 legendary burgers without cheese. Now, I will give them credit because the burgers are supposed to come with cheese. They are in their original form vegetarian, not vegan. But they were very gracious and agreed to make us fresh burgers with no cheese. So very grateful for that. And so I waited for those fresh burgers and they came out. And I didn't look very closely at them because they were covered in lettuce and tomato. And so I went and I put the condiments on and I went and found Christine on the lawn. And we took a bite of the burger and...
yeah, I'm like, this is meat. I think this is meat.
Now, for me, I didn't eat a lot of burgers when we were omnivores, so I don't really remember what a beef burger tasted like.
Right, and like the Beyond Burgers and the Impossible Burgers, they're very close in flavor,
right,
to a cow flesh burger, but there's a textural difference.
And that's what I wasn't quite getting. And so Christine's like, I think this is meat. And I'm like, really? I'm not sure. Like, I can't tell.
Yeah.
And Christine took another bite and said, nope, I'm absolutely certain these are meat.
Yeah.
So I took the burgers back to the concessions and said, hi, I ordered 2 of the legendary burgers, which are supposed to be plant-based, but these are most definitely meat. And the woman behind the cashier took one look at them and went, oh, yes, they most certainly are. We are so sorry. And immediately she went back into the kitchen and they rectified the mistake and brought us out 2 fresh plant-based burgers with no cheese, which was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, mistakes happen. And
they do.
And to be fair, that is the first time that's happened to us.
Yeah, in the almost 5 years that we've been vegan, this was our first experience with a kitchen slip-up.
Yeah.
We haven't had that happen to us before.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. And their food, of course, you're a captive audience. It's super expensive.
Very expensive and not particularly high quality.
No.
So I think the fact that Christine and I took our first and hopefully last bite of cow flesh in almost 5 years. And hopefully that will never happen again. But
yeah, it was pretty terrible.
It was pretty terrible. It was disturbing for sure.
Yeah.
Like realizing that it was meat.
Yeah.
And I partly blame the kitchen. I partly blame myself for not looking closely enough at the burgers when they came out.
Yeah.
I naively said, "Oh, I ordered a plant-based burger. It's going to be a plant-based burger."
Right. I mean, you do have to put a little bit of trust in the people preparing your food, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you said you wanted the plant-based burger. And I think the fact that you ordered it without cheese kind of threw them up for a little bit of a loop. And
That
they
might
just
be.
grabbed the wrong patty from the wrong section of where they keep the
might be.
patties. But on top of that, the French fries were cold, which is...
They were.
Cold fries are the worst.
Well, I mean, I can think of worse things than cold fries, but
I mean, as far as slip-ups in a food situation like that, why are your fries cold? What, did you make them like a half hour ago?
yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Anyway.
So, needless to say, the meal was very disappointing. When
Yeah.
we did get the actual legendary burger, which was the plant-based burger,
Yeah.
It was mediocre at best. You know, it was okay.
It was like, I don't know, could have been like a frozen garden burger or
Something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely was not to the standard of, a commercial Beyond Burger or a commercial Impossible Burger.
Yeah.
Not even close.
It wasn't I don't know, what did they charge it? $16 or something?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, $16. It wasn't a $16
No,
vegan
and it was
burger.
$16 without the fries.
Yeah.
The fries were separate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so
insane.
it was ridiculous.
It-
Absolutely
yeah.
ridiculous. So we've learned a couple of things. Number one, check and see if the park is open.
Right.
Number two, no matter what, do not get food inside the amphitheater because there are not enough options.
No.
The kitchen is not careful enough about checking what they're sending out.
Yeah, they don't seem to take it very seriously.
And what is available is just not very good
Not very good and way overpriced.
and way overpriced.
Yeah, I mean like Disney overpriced.
Yeah, it's
know?
actually worse than Disney
Yeah.
overpriced.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's worse than Disney. And
Yeah.
it's hard to say that because Disney's almost as bad as it gets
Yeah.
when it comes to pricing food.
Yeah. Well, I did in my email get a follow-up survey.
Yes.
So we were able to convey all this to whoever gets those surveys.
Which is wonderful. And of
Yeah.
course, we had nothing but praise for the venue itself because it really is a great place to go see concerts.
and it's well run.
It's well run.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's clean. The seating options are great.
Yeah.
They bring some great acts through there. I really do enjoy going to see concerts there. The tickets are reasonably priced.
Yeah, they are reasonable.
We've seen several concerts there and have had a good experience
Yeah.
all the way around.
Yeah.
So nothing but praise for the venue and how it's run.
Yeah.
And nothing but negatives on the food.
Yeah, and it's not the fault of the people preparing the food.
No, not at all.
It's the quality of the food itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. We also got like a soft pretzel.
Yeah.
Keyword soft. And it tasted like maybe it was a week old. I don't know.
They were quite stale.
Yeah.
And they weren't quite warm enough.
Yeah,
A
and-
hot pretzel should be a hot pretzel.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really. And also bummer, they had condiments available, but there was no way to get condiments back to your seat.
Yeah, they didn't have like little cups or
No,
anything.
I mean, I'm glad that they didn't have the little foil packets because
right, because it's sustainable. Yeah.
packaging and all of that.
But they could have had those little paper
those little
cups.
paper cups.
Yeah.
That would be great, just so you can have some mustard with
Yeah.
your hot pretzel. Because I'm sorry, a hot pretzel requires mustard.
Or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So the food was disappointing.
Yeah, but
All the
hey,
way
I mean,
around.
we weren't really expecting much, but
No, it just didn't go as planned.
yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah. And you know what? That's okay.
Yeah,
So
but-
lessons learned.
Yeah.
Lessons learned.
Yeah, lessons learned. But if you ever go to Six Flags Darien Lake, there are apparently lots of options within the park.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the quality of those options, also, I have no idea.
No, we have no idea. We haven't tried them. The last time we actually went into the theme park was, it was pre-COVID.
Yeah.
So at least 3, possibly 4 years ago.
Right.
And we had a hard time at that time finding anything to eat.
Yeah, there wasn't
in
anything.
the park.
I think we did end up with a pretzel or something.
We did, and we
Yeah.
got some fries at some point, and
Yeah.
we did end up with a sandwich at Subway.
Oh, yeah, it was just okay.
Yeah, you got like the veggie burger sandwich. I just got
Yeah.
a regular veggie sub that was
Yeah.
just vegetables.
Yeah.
But you went with the veggie patty.
Yeah. Which I found
Out later was vegetarian and not vegan.
there's
Had egg white
whites.
in it.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that at the time. But anyway, when you're
Yeah.
at a park,
Yeah.
you know, those are. But apparently they have more options now. So
Yes. And was it read or heard somewhere? Like we actually found a list produced by Darien Lake of all of the things that are vegan in the park and where to get them.
yeah, someone on one of the Facebook groups I follow of Western New York vegans actually emailed the park, and after several attempts to get this information, finally got to the right person, and that person emailed them back all of the options, even telling them what's in everything.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So, like, they told you which ones you had to watch might have milk and all this other stuff, which was great. So, yeah, well, hopefully sometime we'll go back and be able to explore those options and talk about them.
Yeah, absolutely. Next time we go for a concert.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not going to be this year. We looked at the roster of bands they
Yeah.
had coming through and nothing else really appealed to us.
Yeah, Nickelback. You don't want to go see Nickelback?
No, that's okay. I can let that go.
Yeah, I think I can too.
Yeah, but hopefully someday they will come up with a lineup like we had a few summers ago when
Yeah.
we saw Joan Jett and Heart
Yeah.
and the Smashing Pumpkins,
Yeah.
and like it was a concert summer. It was great.
And like Sam said before, the tickets are really reasonable if you get lawn seating. And so, yeah. So we always check out to see who's coming.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to make up for that bad food experience, I think Sam had a better food experience this past weekend.
I did. Now, this weekend I went to New York. Well, I should say through New York on my way to White Plains to see a show that was being put on by one of my oldest and dearest friends. And I'm just going to say that trip also did not quite go as planned.
Yeah, I don't know if Mercury's in retrograde or...
I don't know. Something's going on, but the universe was screwing with me a little bit last week.
Yeah, a little bit.
And so... fine, I can accept that. And I'm not going to go into all the travel details. They're not necessary.
Right.
But for the first time, I took Amtrak from Buffalo to New York. And that was quite an enjoyable experience. It was about an 8-hour trip. And
Which is not much more than if you had drove, right?
No, it's equivalent
Yeah.
to driving, really.
Yeah, because that's
And-
usually what people complain about on the train is that it takes so long. Well, compared to a plane trip, yeah.
Yeah.
But compared to driving, not really.
And it's shorter than a bus.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the
Yeah.
bus. Forget about it.
Yeah, it's shorter than a bus. So great, fabulous. But I got the train at 4:30 in the morning, which means I left here at about 2:30 in the morning to
Yeah.
make sure I got to the station on time. But the train ride itself was really just really enjoyable, comfortable and smooth and good Wi-Fi. And so I was just, reading and playing some games on my iPad and watching the Hudson River go by. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And so anyway, the transfer through New York to White Plains was a little challenging, and then I wound up in a massive thunderstorm walking to my hotel, and so it was a little bit of a mess, but
A little bit.
yeah, it was a little bit of a mess. But then I did get to have some really, really good food. So one of the things I'd been doing while on the train was figuring out what I could DoorDash in White Plains, New York. Mm-hmm. And one of the things, I know we've talked about this before, but one of my favorite cuisines is Indian. And so I decided to see if there was any good vegan Indian food in White Plains, New York. And it turns out, oh yes, there is. So I DoorDashed from a place called Masala Craft, which I had never heard of before. So this is Masala Craft, which is in Hartsdale, New York, but is very, very close to White Plains. And it is a fully vegetarian Indian restaurant, but they have more vegan options than non-vegan options.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, so it's almost fully vegan. There are a few things that have paneer in them.
Right.
And there are a few things that will have some dairy. They are sure to tell you when there is ghee in something,
Right.
that kind of a thing. But it's unbelievably vegan friendly. I have actually never seen a vegetarian menu that is so vegan friendly.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I kind of went a little bit nuts because I'd been on the train so long and I was really, really hungry. I decided to just go crazy. And so I got the chana sag thali. Okay, so thali is a kind of a full meal. So you usually will get at least one, possibly two, and up to three curries.
Yeah.
Plus rice and papadum and all kinds of things.
Oh.
And if you actually have thali at a sit-down restaurant, they will just keep bringing you things until you say, no,
right,
I've had enough. And it's a fabulous experience. I highly recommend it if you ever get the chance. It's a lot of fun, and you get to try tons of things that you wouldn't necessarily like order straight off a menu.
Right.
So I got the chana sag thali, and the chana sag, which is a curry that is primarily chickpeas and spinach, was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Like whole chickpeas and creamed spinach and perfect spices. And then the other curry that I had was a carrot halwa.
Ooh.
And it was spicy and earthy, and mixed the two together, and they were absolutely phenomenal.
Really?
Yes, over some gorgeous basmati rice. And of course, for me, there are two things that when I go for Indian food, I cannot bypass. And those two things are samosas
Right.
and garlic naan.
Yeah. So I was going to ask, they had vegan naan?
They had vegan naan. Now, the reason why this is exceptional is because most naan has buttermilk in it.
Right.
Traditionally, naan has buttermilk in it, but these did not. And so I got some beautiful garlic naan, gorgeous samosas. Like the samosas were to die for.
Were they?
Oh my God, they tasted like India.
Oh.
Yeah.
I wish I could have had those.
I really wish you could have too. The whole meal tasted like India. Like
Yeah.
it was a throwback to being in Pune.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And then I also got a golden latte.
Ooh.
Because after being, soaked to the skin in a thunderstorm, I
Yeah.
was like, a warm beverage sounds really good right now.
Yeah.
So I got a golden latte, which was absolutely gorgeous. And then as a special treat, I also got some medu vada.
What is that?
Now, medu vada are these little donuts. I fell in love with these the first time I went to Pune because the hotel I was staying in served them at breakfast.
Okay.
They're like a savory donut. So there's a really beautiful like cardamom and cardamom, turmeric, all of the wonderful Indian spices you get kind of condensed into this donut.
Sounds good.
Oh, they're incredible. They're absolutely incredible. And so, I had one of those and I'm like, yes, this is exactly what this should be. So the quality of the food was phenomenal, incredibly authentic. Even when you're talking about dishes that maybe traditionally have dairy in them, Masala Craft has found beautiful ways to alter them to make them vegan friendly. And It was a fabulous meal.
Sounds like it. I wish I could have, had some of that.
I know. I wish you could have too.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that we didn't get to share that because it was really wonderful.
Oh, well. I have to live vicariously.
There you go. And so anyway, the rest of that day just did not go as planned, and I was a little bit bummed. And also I was completely exhausted. So I managed to get a decent night's sleep and woke up the next morning and said, okay, you know what? Things didn't go as planned. I was a little bit grumpy about the whole trip and outside of the Indian food.
Yeah.
But then I was like, okay, let's just make the best of today. I'll go into the city a little bit early. It would be criminal if I didn't go to like one fully vegan spot and get a meal so that I can talk about it on the podcast.
Right.
And so that's exactly what I decided to do. And after a little bit of research, and Christine helped me with this actually, making the decision, but my choice fell on Plant Burger. That's PLNT Burger, which is of course the brainchild of Spike Mendelsohn. And there are several outlets in New York City and quite a few across the country.
I believe he started in D.C.
Yeah.
And then kind of branched out.
Right. And I think there are 3 or 4 in New York itself and quite a number across the country.
Yeah.
So I decided that I would head there, and I did, and it was wonderful. I had the Save the Day filet, which is their version of a fish sandwich.
Okay.
And the filet itself was beautifully crispy on the outside, nicely textured on the inside. The tartar sauce was phenomenal.
Really?
And
What was the patty made from? Do you know?
I don't know. I'm really not sure. I'll have
Okay.
to do some research on that, but I
Yeah.
don't know what it was. It was definitely house made. It was not some kind of commercial product that they were
Sure.
purchasing. It was definitely house made. It had lovely pickles on it, and for me, pickles on a sandwich.
It's kind of not
I'm
for
happy.
something like that.
Yeah, I'm happy. And also while there, I discovered that Plant Burger might just make the world's most perfect sweet potato fry.
No.
Yes.
That's
Their
good.
sweet potato crinkles are out of this world. And you get a dipping sauce with your sweet potato crinkles. And I got this.
What was the dipping sauce?
I got the spicy aioli,
Okay.
and it was fabulous.
Was it like a chipotle mayo or something? Or
Yeah, but better.
yeah.
I don't know exactly. I can't put my finger on the spice profile, but it was tangy and spicy and worked against these incredible sweet potato fries in a wondrous, wondrous way.
Sounds good.
It was. And I was also lucky enough at the time that I was there to get a couple of samples because they were doing a sample day. They had someone standing outside with trays of different things that they were offering as samples.
Fun.
And so the first sample I got was a sample of their chocolate oat milk milkshake.
How was that?
Yummy.
Yeah.
Yes. And that was actually, I think, my first taste of a vegan milkshake.
Yeah, everywhere we go that has milkshakes, we never have enough room for one.
No, because we always go for the food.
Yeah, and it's like you kind of have to plan for the milkshake
Yeah.
in order to have enough room to consume a milkshake.
And so someday, because please, even just Strong Hearts, they've got like 30 plus milkshake flavors. We've got to try one eventually.
I know, right?
Yeah, we do. But anyway, so I got a taste of the chocolate oat milk milkshake, and it was wonderful. And then just before I left, I got a sample of one of their little dippers, which is their version of a chicken nugget.
Okay.
Also fantastic. It made me want to immediately try one of their chicken sandwiches.
Oh, okay.
It was that good. Yes. So a fabulous texture and spice on their chicken nugget.
That's good to know.
Yeah, it was wonderful. It was really wonderful.
Yeah, so that kind of made up for... So those two meals made up for the lackluster food we had.
It really, really did. And also, the fact that the universe also threw me a little surprise.
Yeah.
Which was amazing. I feel like on Saturday morning, as I was getting ready to make my return trip home, the universe just went, okay, we've screwed with you enough here.
Right.
Here, have this. And so as I'm waiting at the White Plains station to get the Metro North back into New York City, I look up and all of a sudden I am face to face with a friend of mine who I have not seen in about 23 years.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And it was absolutely amazing. Just the incredible synchronicity that must have happened in order for us to run into each other.
Right.
Like if I had taken one train later or one train earlier, I would have missed her.
Yeah.
But I didn't. And it made the whole trip worth it. And we spent the entire train ride into New York City catching up. And it was such a gift.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It was such a gift. Oh, what do you have to say? Bosco thinks it was a gift too.
Bosco always has something to say when we're podcasting.
Usually.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So crazy trip, but good stuff all in all.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, I'm glad you found some good food, and I'm really glad that you managed to run into a friend you hadn't seen in forever.
Oh, me too.
That's really cool.
Just amazing.
A few moments later.
We're going to move on, and we're still making our way through those Blue Table chocolates.
Yeah, we are.
So we're going to try another couple of these beautiful chocolates.
Okay.
What do we have?
So today we are doing 2 of their boozy truffles.
Oh, they're boozy?
They're boozy. The first one is the Blood Orange Manhattan.
I'm guessing that's the orange one?
That would be a good guess, yeah.
Okay.
So the Blood Orange Manhattan is a cherry and Angostura bitters jelly over a bourbon, sweet vermouth, and blood orange ganache.
Well, that sounds good.
It does. So let's give this a try.
All right. It is a little boozy.
It is. I get the bourbon
Yeah.
completely, and I get a hint of the cherry. I don't get the blood orange.
I get a little of it right on the end.
Yeah, I'm not. And blood orange is one of my favorite flavors. I
Yeah.
absolutely love it.
See, I didn't get the cherry. I got the
no?
I got the bourbon and I got the orange, but I don't get the cherry.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. So it is good. And of course, this chocolate is just insane. It is
really
rich. It is decadent, not too sweet. The chocolate itself is perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of flavor on this one, I'm getting the bourbon really clearly with a hint of cherry, but I'm not getting the blood orange at all.
Interesting, because I got the orange, but I didn't get the cherry. All right.
The difference in taste buds.
Yeah. What's this other one that we're gonna have?
This other one is a blackberry mojito.
Ooh.
And this is a mint blackberry jelly sitting over a white rum and fresh lime juice ganache.
Ooh. Okay.
Right?
I get the mint and the lime for sure.
How funny. Because I get the blackberry and maybe a hint of rum, but not really the mint or the lime.
That's so weird.
Isn't that weird? Mm-hmm. And I don't know, maybe for me, if you tell me something's got lime in it, or you tell me something's got orange in it, because I do love citrus.
You want it to punch you in the face.
I do. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That I want the lime to punch me in the face, and it just doesn't.
Well, this is just more, it's subtle. You have, like 4 or 5 flavors.
Right. But it's, in this case, it's subtle to the point that I'm not tasting it.
I tasted it. I immediately got, at first, a little bit of the rum, then the mint and the lime. And then, of course, the chocolate takes over after that.
Yeah, for me, I definitely got the blackberry, and I definitely got the chocolate and a hint of the rum, but I didn't really catch either the mint or the lime.
I didn't get any of the blackberry.
So weird.
And it's weird.
Very weird. Yeah. So, I mean, both very good pieces of chocolate.
Oh, no,
without question.
Delicious. It just goes to show you that taste is definitely subjective.
It is subjective. And I feel like these certainly aren't quite as flavor specific as like that apple chicory hazelnut from last week that was just so ridiculously divine, and you could taste absolutely everything that was in there.
Yeah, well, these are more subtle flavors, I think. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And so still stunning. Just, I'm not getting some of the flavors quite as clearly as I have on other truffles, but still beautiful.
Yeah.
And highly recommended.
Yep, I'll be up late.
You will be up late. Yes, I will
After
be up
eating
late.
those, the caffeine from the chocolate will definitely be keeping me up, but that's okay. I have to edit, so
That's right.
I need to be awake.
And so, and we will keep going with our reviews of the Blue Table chocolates.
Until they're gone.
Until they're gone.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah, I hope people are enjoying our reviews of this chocolate and they're not just like, you know what? We know you have chocolate. You don't have to keep rubbing it in. Stop rubbing it in because we don't have any of that chocolate. So I'm just skipping ahead past that part. No, hopefully you didn't skip ahead.
And if you did, we understand.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I wouldn't blame you.
No, not at all.
No. Hey, you want to talk about our recipe that we made?
Sure thing.
And for once, I can say, not we, but Sam made the recipe this week.
I did. Christine let me in the kitchen.
I did. So let's talk about the recipe. This is this week's Vegan Cookbook Challenge recipe of the week.
So, this week's recipe of the week is from Hot for Food All Day by Lauren Toyota. And we have done a recipe from this book before. Was back at episode 69.
Yeah.
And that was for the Zuppa Toscana, which
highly recommend that soup. Yeah.
Insanely good. Just one of the best soups I think I've ever had.
Yeah, Lauren Toyota's recipes are they don't fail.
No, they don't.
They're fantastic.
Yes, they are absolutely idiot-proof. You can try to mess them up, and it's not going to happen.
Well, I wouldn't try to mess them up, but
No.
No,
And
they
so-
always turn out amazing.
They really do.
Yeah.
And today's was no exception. So I decided to make Lauren's cauliflower piccata. So she has a recipe for cauliflower steaks 2 ways with spaghetti aglio e olio And so I went with the cauliflower piccata because it's summer. Cauliflower parm just sounded a little bit too heavy.
Right.
More of a fall thing, perhaps.
Right.
And then, of course, the spaghetti aglio e olio.
Yeah.
Yes, which
Say
was...
that 3 times fast.
Right. Yes, I know.
Aglio e olio.
Yeah. You gotta love Italian.
Garlic and oil.
Garlic and oil.
Yeah.
And so outside of the fact that I felt a little awkward in the kitchen, because it's been a really long time since I've spent any significant time in the kitchen because you've been doing so much of the cooking.
It's been like, at least as far as like cooking for the podcast, it's been like a year since.
Yeah.
And funny enough, that was also a cauliflower recipe.
It was. Yeah, it was those beautiful roasted cauliflower, the full heads.
Yeah, whole roasted
Gosh,
cauliflower.
those were gorgeous. Yeah, so I apparently have a thing for cauliflower, which is... That's not news.
Not a surprise.
No, not at all.
No.
So I felt a little awkward in the kitchen. I felt like I didn't know where things were.
Well, I have moved some things around.
Yes, things have changed. And I'm like, okay, well, which pans am I allowed to use and which pans can't I use?
You can use any pan.
Well, but you've got certain ones that you're going to use for cooking videos.
Yeah,
and you've got
okay.
I just didn't want to mess anything up. So yeah, it was just very, very strange being back in the kitchen, and I felt like, oh my God, I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. But fortunately, as I said, Lauren's recipes are idiot proof. So even though I was feeling like an idiot, the recipe came out absolutely beautifully. So this is steaks of roasted cauliflower, and it's very simple roasted cauliflower. You just cut steaks from a couple of heads of cauliflower. Olive oil, salt, a little bit of pepper, roast them for about 40 minutes, 20 minutes on each side, and it's absolutely gorgeous. This is then put over the spaghetti aglio e olio, which has a wonderful light sauce on it, and probably the defining factor of that sauce for me was the chili flakes, because it gave the pasta a hit of heat that really nicely contrasted kind of the beautiful tangy citrus flavors that were in the piccata sauce.
Yeah, the piccata sauce was delicious.
It was.
The
and
capers
the
and-
capers and the shallots and the garlic, and it was just beautiful. I mean, it seriously put capers in anything.
Yeah, but when Sam was making the sauce, immediately the house just filled with good smelling stuff.
Yes,
so
it really did.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that started with the sautéing onions and shallots.
Right.
I'm like, ooh, butter, onions, and shallots. You can't go wrong there.
Yeah, it always smells so delicious.
So good. So this was an absolutely beautiful recipe, and Christine did take a photo of our finished product, so I'm sure that will show up on the social medias at some point in the not too distant future.
I will be posting photos of it. The execution of this recipe was flawless. The cauliflower steaks were perfectly done, and it was delicious.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a really good time, even though I felt a little bit out of place.
You found your stride.
Yeah. Towards the end, but at the beginning, I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? I did have one slight panic moment because Christine had gone to the store before I went to New York to get all of the ingredients for this recipe, and she forgot an ingredient, and we didn't realize until I was getting everything out and putting them on the counter. And
I forgot the capers.
I'm like, where are the capers? And she's like, did I not get the capers?
I knew as soon as she said it, they were on my list. I think we talked about this before. I can go to the store with a list and still come back missing something.
And you did.
And I checked my list like twice. I'm like, I have everything. Like, I don't know if like capers was written differently or in a different color pen or something. It just immediately just flew out the window as far as my list was concerned.
Yeah.
But as soon as you said, where are the capers? I'm like, I didn't buy them. I grabbed my keys and went to the store.
Yeah. And the thing was, she was gone a little longer than I was expecting her to be. And so
Really?
my cauliflower is roasting and it's time for me to start the sauce, but I have no capers and I can't do the sauce without the capers. And I didn't know what to do.
Oh, no.
But it was fine.
Yeah, it all worked out.
It all worked out. Yes. And it was a lovely meal. And it made me want to say, hey, I think we should trade off on the cookbooks recipes.
I'm totally down for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially now while I've got a little time on my hands during the day. And
go for it.
Yeah. So, yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, and I love this recipe, and I love this book.
I do love this book.
Yeah.
And so many things I love about this book. One that I really appreciated is that the assumption that there will be leftovers. So, for example, this called for 2 heads of cauliflower, and not because you're going to use 2 full heads of cauliflower. You're not. It's because you want to make sure that you're cutting 4 good steaks.
Good size steaks. And that's just the middle of the head.
And that's just the middle of the head. Yeah, the outside of a head of cauliflower does not make for good steaks. You need to get it from the center.
Yeah.
So it acknowledges that you're going to have leftover raw cauliflower.
I think it's fantastic that she planned for that and had you get 2 heads, because I've seen other recipes where they're like, cut the buy a head of cauliflower, now cut it into steaks. And of course you can only get like 2
steaks.
or maybe 3 if you're lucky, decent ones that don't fall apart.
Right.
So I think that's fantastic that she just told you get 2.
Yeah. Get 2 heads.
Yeah.
Cut your 4 steaks, and then know that you're going to have leftover raw cauliflower. And guess what? Here, use them in the Korean barbecue
Tacos or something,
or
right?
burritos. Yeah, it's just like, okay, thank you.
Yeah, and we probably will.
Yeah, that's great. It's absolutely great.
Yeah.
So it was just awesome. So the book is amazing. The recipe was amazing.
Yeah.
I had a good time in the kitchen. Thank you, Christine, for allowing me to be in the kitchen.
You're always allowed in the kitchen unless I'm in there. Okay.
See, exactly. And we discussed this as well, because as I'm in there cooking, Christine is kind of hovering.
Oh, I just wanted to ask if you wanted help. That's all. She's like, just stop hovering. Get out.
Yes, but she was hovering and looking and seeing everything that's going on. And when I walk into the kitchen when she's cooking, it's immediately, get out. Can I help with anything? No, get out. So I'm like, okay, wait a minute. This does not seem fair.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I'm looking forward to you making more recipes for the show. That'll be fun.
Yeah, that will be fun.
If you want to get your hands on this book, which again is Hot for Food All Day by Lauren Toyota, there will be a link in the show notes to purchase it. There'll also be a link on our Instagram in the link section of our bio.
And this is one that is good for all levels of chefs.
Yeah.
Whether you're a beginner, whether you are a seasoned home cook, it does not matter.
Yeah.
These recipes are completely accomplishable.
Oh, yeah, they're totally accomplishable and really accessible. She has a way of taking really simple methods and really simple foods and turning it into something really special.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Something that tastes like you slaved in the kitchen for hours.
Yeah. This is one that I want to get for my mom.
Yeah, it'd probably be a good book for her. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of hard to get ingredients and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. And it's just really accessible food. So, yeah. So thank you, Lauren Toyota, for your amazing book.
And thank you, Sam, for making the recipe. It was nice not to have to cook.
Even though you were hovering anyway?
I was. I just was hovering to see if you needed help. That's all. You want to move on to our noteworthy section?
Sure, let's do it.
Yeah, we have a really interesting story. Comes from the Independent in the UK about a vegan family who asked their neighbors to please close their windows when they're cooking meat. So a vegan family has been called entitled after they sent a letter to their neighbor asking them to close their windows when cooking meat.
Now, the thing is, here's my take on all of this.
Okay.
And it's very, very simple. I think the vegan family has the absolute right to ask their neighbors for what they want.
It never hurts to ask.
No. The neighbor, however, has every right to say no.
Absolutely.
Which they did.
Yeah.
They said, hey, no, we're not going to do that. If it bothers you, close your own windows. And I think that's a perfectly reasonable response.
I agree, but I don't agree with how the animal meat cooking neighbor kind of handled the whole situation.
Okay.
By calling their vegan neighbor entitled, when, if you read through the story, it seems that they were very gracious. The letter was not rude in any way. They were simply asking, could you please close your window that's close to our house when you're cooking meat because it's disturbing to us.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't think that act is entitled. They're making a request. They're not making a demand.
Yeah.
You're not walking into your house and closing your windows. That would be entitled.
Yeah, they're not yelling out the window, close your window, or you know what I mean? It says the neighborhood dispute began, it's actually in Perth, Australia, where this happened, when a Burns Beach resident claimed that the smell of meat wafting from their neighbor's home was making the plant-based family sick and upset. The handwritten letter, which was submitted to the Hey Perth Facebook account, had the disclaimer, "Please take seriously," an important message written on the front of the note. Inside the letter, the note read, "Hello, neighbor. Could you please shut your side window when cooking, please? My family are vegan. We eat only plant-based foods. The smell of the meat you cook makes us feel sick and upset. We would appreciate your understanding," the letter said, which was signed from Sarah, Wayne, and the kids.
Now, on May 5th, the popular Hey Perth Facebook account captioned the post sent to us by Kylie from Burns Beach. In the comments, and this is where I kind of check out, because I just don't see the need for animosity.
Well, here's the thing. I think the meat cooking neighbor is the one that posted it to Facebook.
Oh, I'm not sure. It doesn't specify. But in the comments, many people were furious over the vegan family's quote-unquote entitled request for their neighbors to shut their windows when cooking meat. One said, "I would fire up the smoker and do a 12-hour brisket with a sausage sizzle for lunch thrown in. Entitled much?" Some people joked that if they were to receive a similar letter, they'd host a neighborhood barbecue in retaliation. "Jesus, what is the world coming to when you can't cook a steak in your own kitchen?" one person said. "I'd crank the Weber too just for posting that." And this to me makes me say, why is one person's request, which the family gets to deny,
Right.
they get to say, "No, we're not going to do that." Why is the simple request grounds for retaliation?
I know, right?
Not only are we going to say no, but we're going to smoke meat for 12 hours
How dare
so you can
How dare
smell
you
it.
have the gall to ask us to close our window?
I mean, I that to me is just ridiculous.
It wasn't handled well.
was-
They could have just said no and left it alone. But no,
That's
they
right.
decided to post it to Facebook.
Yeah, so I think this was really poorly handled. And like I said, I think that the vegan family had every right to ask for what they wanted.
I think so,
The
too.
omnivore family had every right to refuse
Exactly.
and to say, if it's that troublesome to you, then by all means close your own windows, which is a perfectly valid response.
Yeah.
You know, I don't go over to the neighbor across the street and say, "You know what, you can't mow your lawn right now. I have the door open and the noise is bothering me."
Right.
No, if the noise is bothering me in that moment,
You close the
I
door.
close the door, because he has every right to mow his lawn when he wants to mow his lawn.
Even if it is too many times.
That's beside the point. You're
That's
going
a-
off track.
That's a whole
Pookie.
other story.
It is a whole other story. But yeah, it is not his job
No.
to deal with me not liking the noise from the mower.
Right, right. And so say, "We're sorry, it gets really warm in our kitchen and we are not going to close our windows when we're cooking.
Right.
Thank you very much." But no.
Yes.
And they should have left it at
And
that.
they should have left it at that. Absolutely. Because the rancor and the animosity is just so unnecessary. They should hold a street party and get a full spit going on in the front lawn. People like that need to be in their own suburb. Next, these people, I love that, these people, like vegans are these people, will be asking fast food places to shut their vents so the smell of cooking meat doesn't contaminate their precious air. If it makes you that sick, hon, maybe you should be the one closing your windows. That's true. That I agree
Yeah, I
with.
mean, you don't have to say it that snarky.
You don't have to say it in that snarky way,
Yeah.
but yes. And then it says, "Stop pushing your food views on others." Now, I don't think
Yeah.
the vegan family was in any way pushing their food views.
Not at all.
They were just explaining that they are in fact vegan. They
Yeah.
were not trying to get the omnivore family not to cook meat.
Yeah, just
You know,
close your
so
window.
again, yeah, it was just badly handled.
Yeah, and people's responses, it's like, come on, really?
Yeah.
Somebody said, "Oh, I would just reply, 'Dear neighbor, please shut your windows when you cook veggies. As I am a carnivore, I eat meat only, and the smell of cooked vegetables is offensive to me.'" I mean, that's just ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. It is ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't see how this makes those people in any way entitled.
No, I don't
Yeah.
either.
People just like to argue about stuff.
They do. And again, we've said this many, many times that there are people out there who just feel the need to be right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't either.
And not only that they need to be right for themselves, but they need other people to agree that they are right.
I'm going to post this on Facebook, and then I want everybody else to say how I'm in the right by being offended by this letter.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of dumb. I thought it was interesting because it is something that might come up if you live in a closer knit community where the houses are close together and like somebody's out barbecuing or something. We have a neighbor next to us. Now, our houses aren't super close together or anything, but he fires up his barbecue in his back
regularly.
Yeah,
during the summer.
and makes his burgers or hot dogs or whatever. It doesn't offend me.
No.
I don't like smelling, you know, cooked animal flesh. But it's his yard. It's his grill. He can do whatever he wants. It's a free country. It's a free world. He can do it.
And let's also say that last year we were having an outdoor picnic here at the house, and we had lots of omnivores visiting. And so we were cooking both Impossible burgers and vegan hot dogs. And we were cooking, you know, my family had brought ground beef for them to make.
Did they? Or hot dogs?
Oh, wait, no, it was just hot dogs.
Hot dogs.
It was just hot dogs.
Yeah.
Not hamburgers. So they brought, you know, beef hot dogs to make. And our neighbor graciously offered to cook the beef hot dogs on his grill.
Yeah, that was really nice of him.
So that we didn't have to be concerned about cross-contamination on our own grill.
Yeah, that was really nice of him.
And I thought that was super cool.
Yeah. So, you know, it's just about respect.
Yes.
Respect the people in your, you know, in your circle, you know. And I don't think that those people showed any disrespect by sending that letter.
I don't
It was
either.
a simple request that could have been handled with a simple no, and that would have been the end of it.
We understand where you're coming from, but no.
Yeah. But no, it gets really hot in our kitchen, and if we close the window, you know,
if
it's too hot or whatever reason.
If the smell is troubling to you, you know, feel free to close your own windows. We won't be offended.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all.
People. Well, I guess we better move on to our main topic.
I guess so.
Our main topic this week is a movie review. This week we are reviewing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Now you might say, why are we reviewing a Marvel movie? First of all, Sam and I are not fans of the Marvel universe. I'm not saying that we dislike the Marvel. We're just not, it's not something that we're into.
No.
So this is not a movie that we would normally seek out, but I had read that there was a strong animal rights message in this particular movie, in this franchise of movies.
In fact, per an IndieWire article, PETA gives James Gunn, the creator of this film, an award for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which they are calling an animal rights masterpiece.
Well, we'll get into it.
We will.
I'm really kind of surprised at how strongly PETA is
supporting
this movie.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah.
Now, to be perfectly fair, the images of animal testing and the way animals are treated in testing facilities were appropriately horrifying.
Yeah. And before we get into this, I just want to say there will be spoilers. So
yes.
If you are intending to see this movie and haven't seen it yet, you may want to skip ahead and then come back to this section after you've watched the movie.
Right. So, as I said, the depictions of animal testing and the conditions in which these animals are kept were horrifying.
Really horrifying.
Really disturbing. Brutal. Honestly, brutal.
Sam bawled through a lot of the movie.
I did.
Yeah.
I have realized that I am now really not good at observing violence in general.
Yeah.
But violence to animals specifically is a punch to the gut, and it just immediately gets me very upset.
Yeah. So the plot explores the backstory of one of the main characters, Rocket, the raccoon character.
Yeah.
And right from the get-go of the movie, they take you back to when he was a baby raccoon at a testing facility at
a research facility.
Yeah. At a research facility that the villain of the movie was running.
Yes. And so the first kind of image of animal testing that you have is Rocket as his baby self being in a cage with a couple dozen other baby raccoons, and as a human or humanoid character, it's hard to tell at that point, opens the cage and starts to reach their hand in, all of the raccoons back up. And Rocket is the one who is staying slightly forward of the rest. And you can just see the terror in their eyes. And I know they're CGI.
Yeah, but they're really well done
But they're
CGI.
incredibly well done. And so whoever was behind getting the expression into these animals' eyes, like, kudos to you, because I didn't question it for even a heartbeat. But you can just see the terror in their eyes as this hand comes, and you can just see that this hand is going to reach and grab Rocket by the head and pull him out of this cage, which is, of course, exactly what happens.
Right.
And terrible experiments are conducted on him and all of his other animal friends, and you see the results of those experiments as the movie goes on. And at one point, you know, he, after having many things done to him, you can see where they've obviously like cracked open his rib cage and then replaced his ribs with metal structures.
Yeah,
and,
like robotics
like
and stuff.
robotics. And you know, you can see where they've opened his skull to get a look at his brain, and he's missing all the fur on the top of his head, and then he's tossed back into a cage with some other animals who have had equally terrible things done to them. And this is kind of his first experience coming back from these terrible experiments. And, you know, he's in this cage and he is terrified, and he is shaking and shivering and crying. And like, he just then at one point just says, "It hurts." And I lost it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm about to lose it again.
Yeah, it was really brutal.
It really was.
Yeah, and is this a PG-13? Or it must be PG-13, because I believe there was one instance of the F word. And I think that gets you an immediate PG-13 rating.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't looked up the rating.
There were some young kids in the audience, and I would, if I was a parent, definitely not bring a young kid to this movie.
No, I mean, I honestly wouldn't bring myself to this movie.
No. We wouldn't see a movie like this if it hadn't been for the fact that people were saying that it was touching on animal rights issues.
Right. And the thing is, you know, in a statement, PETA said that the award that was given recognized Gunn's quote unquote unflinching advocacy in the film, reminding viewers that all animals deserve a life of freedom under the open sky rather than confinement to laboratory cages. From my point of view, that message was incredibly muddy.
It was, on the surface, it was definitely what Pete is saying on the surface. But if you dig into some of the dialogue in the movie, where, what was the one phrase they said when they were trying to free some of the animals? Right.
So towards the end of the movie, the Guardians of the Galaxy discover that in this testing facility, which we now find out is a huge mobile spaceship, there are cages and cages full of human children that are being tested on. And, you know, immediately everyone's like, oh my God, these children are being tested on and are being, you know, maimed and harmed and all of these things. We have to save them. And nobody really thinks about all of the other animals that must still be there.
Right.
And so at one point, as the children are being freed, Rocket insists that they go back for the other animals. And I found it very telling that the human and humanoid characters didn't think about that at all.
Yeah.
It was Rocket. It was an animal character that had to convince the humans to go back for the other animals.
Yeah.
And they did so, which, okay, if they hadn't, the film would have gone from brutal to abhorrent.
Right.
So I think that had to happen for the movie to be viable.
Yeah.
At
But
all.
what did one of the
And I'm
humanoid
getting,
characters?
I'm getting there.
She's getting there. She's
Yeah,
getting
I
there.
am. And so then, all of the animals come charging out of the pens, and it's cats and dogs and elephants and cows and chickens, and it's every kind of animal you could possibly think of.
Yeah.
And they're being helped off of this ship. And one of the folks who is helping with the rescue is saying, wait a minute, I thought we were sticking to the higher life forms,
Yeah.
meaning humans.
Right. Now, it can be taken in both ways, I think. It can be taken that they included that whole scene and the humanoid character's reluctance to free the animals along with the human subjects that were in this lab, that it was making a statement, and that line, that particular line, I thought we were sticking to the higher life forms, was actually making a statement. I mean, it can be argued that
It can be argued either
know.
way, but I'm going by my gut response.
Yeah.
And saying that line kind of killed it for me.
Yeah.
Okay, you're saying that animals, if you are in fact saying that animals deserve to have a life outside of cages and to be free in the open, in the open sky, they make lots of references to the sky,
Yeah.
which I think is quite beautiful. But you're also referring to them as lower life forms. And, there are moments in there that, it feels like you're almost glorifying the technological advances that have come from the testing on animals.
Right.
It seems as though the only reason the Guardians of the Galaxy go to save anybody is because Rocket is their friend, and he's dying, and they need information about him to hopefully save his life.
Right.
And so they go to this place to get the information, and they get the file they need about Rocket without even blinking that there are thousands upon thousands of other test subjects whose files are right there. They don't even blink. There's not even a, whoa,
maybe we should,
this is messed up.
maybe we should be looking deeper.
Maybe we should look at this a little bit
Yeah.
more. No, it was all about Rocket. Let's save Rocket.
Yeah.
And then if Rocket had not been saved, neither would have any of the other animals been saved,
Right.
because that was Rocket's doing.
Right.
And so it was animals for animals, not humans for animals.
Right.
So
well,
I still
to be
think-
fair, even the humans aren't really humans. So.
Well, humans and humanoids, there are
humanoids,
both.
yeah.
There are definitely both. And so that bothered me a little bit.
Yeah.
The scenes where the animals who have been experimented on, so Rocket and his friends, Lila, Floor, and Teef,
Yeah.
and Teef, where they're kind of playing and having a great time and laughing and all of that. And I'm like, you know what? I guarantee that is not how animals in testing labs feel.
Well, no, absolutely not.
So I had a little bit of an issue with that.
Yeah.
And the last issue that I had, okay, even if we can say that the scenes of animal testing and animal incarceration and all of that stuff was pro-animal liberation, was pro-animal rights movement. The rest of the film is so gratuitously violent.
So much violence. Yeah.
Seemingly no purpose.
Yeah. In order to save their one friend, they kill
Hundreds
of people.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't see that as being animal liberation forward at all.
Yeah. They certainly aren't practicing compassion.
No,
right?
not by any stretch
In
of
any
the
way.
imagination.
Yeah.
No. And so, as a film, first of all, I fully admit that because we have not seen the other two Guardians of the Galaxy movies, there's some context that we were likely missing.
Sure.
That probably would have helped, at least with connecting with the characters, which I had a hard time with.
I suppose, yeah, we're missing some context there.
Yes.
But I would say, I mean, just as a whole, I didn't think this was a great movie.
No.
No. I mean, I appreciated what they were saying with the animal testing and showing those brutal scenes. I mean, maybe it might make people think, but Will it?
I mean, in the
You know?
context of what is supposed to be a comic book themed movie, I
Yeah.
don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
If they're seeing that as something that is, in fact, absolutely barbaric.
Yeah.
Or if it just is what it is.
Right. Right.
It's really hard to say. I can't jump into somebody else's brain.
Yeah, because it's such a fantasy world, right?
Yeah.
Is like, let's just say like the average preteen that goes to see this movie. Are they looking at that and then going, wow, does this stuff happen in the real world?
Right.
Which, of course, we know it does. Or are they just looking at that and going, oh, that was terrible, but that's just something that happens in that world.
Right. Yeah. Is there a disconnect?
Yeah.
There. And I think I mean, like I said, I can't put myself in another person's brain, but
Sure.
I don't, it's not hard to imagine that there would be
Yeah.
a disconnect.
Yeah.
That they think, oh, that's in that universe. It's not in our universe.
I don't know if the other films are as violent as this movie was, but like Sam said, it was just so much violence. Just like it was gratuitous in most cases.
Yes.
It's like, well, just kill everybody. I mean, actually, one of the characters says, kill them all.
Right.
At one point in the movie, he's like, wait a minute. You're trying to save your one friend. You're going to kill everybody?
Everybody? Yeah, that seems a bit over the top.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was not a fan.
Yeah, I don't think I agree with PETA that this is an animal rights masterpiece.
No,
I
definitely not.
appreciate them maybe giving a nod to it for some animal rights themes, but to go as far as give awards and call it a masterpiece, I think is a real stretch.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and as we've said before, I'm pro PETA, and I think they do a lot of good things. But I definitely don't agree with their assessment on this movie. I felt kind of traumatized afterwards.
Oh, we both did. Not only because of the animal rights stuff, but just this nonstop barrage of violence, like coming at your face.
And I feel like if the animal rights, animal liberation message had been at the forefront and had been stronger, we would have been like, yeah, man, we would have come out feeling empowered as opposed to traumatized.
Yeah, I agree.
So I appreciate the attention that PETA is giving to this film, but I definitely do not agree with their assessment. And I would not recommend it to anyone.
I wouldn't recommend this film to anybody, just as a film.
No. I mean, if you're a fan of Guardians of the Galaxy, rock on. Then it's probably your cup of tea. But
Maybe.
for me, yeah, this is not one that I would say, you know what? You've got to go see this. No.
Yeah.
For me, the previews were the best part.
Previews were good.
Previews were good.
Previews
Ballad
were
of
good.
Songbirds and Snakes coming up. We've
Yeah.
got Oppenheimer coming up.
Yeah.
New Indiana Jones. I'm psyched for all those.
Yeah, that was probably the best part because this movie, right from the get-go, was disturbing.
Yes.
And yeah, the fact that there were young children in that audience kind of disturbed me even more. And not because of the animal stuff. While those scenes were disturbing, but because of just all of the violence.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be one of those people that's like, violence in video games and violence in here and violence there, but it was so gratuitous. It was like, and I understand these are comic book characters. They have superpowers, and most of the people involved in the violence weren't really even human, but it's just nonstop, just violence in your face, and I don't know.
It's not my thing.
Definitely not our cup of tea.
Nope.
So, yeah. So that's our thoughts on that. If anybody else has seen this Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I'd be really interested to hear other people's opinions of, how it falls as far as an animal rights movie. I can share the one opinion that I have from our friend Andy Tabar of Compassion Co. and formerly of the Bearded Vegans podcast. After he saw it, he made a post and said this was deeply unsettling, that he had heard that there were some strong animal rights themes, but sheesh, that was rough. And he said, I think the pro-animal messaging is extremely muddy, just like Sam said, and just reinforces the gulf between the animals we love and the animals that we exploit.
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So if you're going into this thinking it's going to be this great animal rights masterpiece, like PETA says, It's really not.
No.
And it's really disturbing. And I would say if you are vegan, well, even if you're not vegan, I don't know if you need to subject yourself to it.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And I think that's really all I have to say about that.
Yeah. I think we can move on. I think we've covered it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I said, if you've seen the movie, I'm interested in other people's opinions of it.
Always.
So
let us know what you think.
yeah, let us know what you think. Let's move on to our reason to be vegan.
Sure thing. And I actually chose this week's reason to be vegan as an homage to the movie that we just reviewed.
Okay.
And so once again, this reason is coming from the lovely book, 72 Reasons to be Vegan, Why Plant-Based, Why Now, by Jean Stone and Kathy Freston. And this is reason number 25, which is animals deserve better. In 2019, cats all over New York had cause for celebration. The state banned the cruel practice of declawing. That's great news for cats and for people who love cats, though maybe not so much for couches. But what about the other animals who endure far worse than declawing? Sadly, New York's recent desire to prevent animal cruelty does not extend beyond pets. Without getting overly gross, which we could do very fast, here are just a few examples. Male pigs are routinely castrated in order to prevent them from giving off an odor known as boar taint. This even happens to so-called humanely raised pigs, unless they're raised for breeding, and it happens without painkillers when the little piglets are only 2 weeks old. Ouch. Bulls are also castrated, which makes the animals fatten up faster and, not surprisingly, makes them more compliant. We won't go into how it's done because you really don't want to know. Cattle are brutally dehorned, usually without painkillers, with searing hot irons, caustic chemicals, blades, or even just hand saws. If the cow struggles too much, she's placed in a restraint. According to Dr. William Moore, a professional of animal sciences at Purdue University, dehorning is a bloody process that no one likes to do. Yet people do it, many millions of times a year. Cattle continue to be branded, which is unfathomably painful and oddly anachronistic, as there are many more modern and pain-free ways to keep track of individual animals. Because egg-laying hens are packed together in cages, they fight one another, as any terrified creature would. For this reason, their handlers routinely debeak them, using a scalding hot knife when they are less than 3 weeks old, leaving them wounded, bleeding, and sometimes unable to eat again. Turkeys are similarly raised en masse on factory farms, packed together in tight, windowless spaces, their beaks and toes having been removed without anesthesia. Little lambs, within weeks of being born, have their ears hole-punched and their tails chopped off. The males are castrated, you guessed it, without anesthesia. In Australia, says a PETA report, ranchers simply carve huge strips of flesh off the back of lambs' legs and around their tails to keep flies from laying eggs in the skin, as the hatched maggots can eat the sheep alive. All of this is just the tip of the iceberg. What happens to animals being pushed through the slaughter line is truly horrific. They are typically dunked in scalding water, chickens, hung up by their legs, pigs, or sliced open, cows and pigs and chickens, sometimes while still alive. There's a reason we're not allowed into factory farms and why slaughterhouses don't have windows.
Humans are capable of a lot of cruelty, for sure.
Yes, they are.
And that's why we choose not to be a part of it.
That's right.
Any of it.
That's right.
So if you're considering going vegan, there is definitely a good reason.
There are many, many good reasons.
Yeah.
Yes. And your reasons should be your own. They shouldn't be ours. They shouldn't be anyone else's. Your reasons should be your own.
Yeah.
But there are many of them.
Definitely. Let's move on to something lighter.
Yeah.
Much lighter. It's time for our listener shout out.
Just want to give a shout out to all my fans watching. I love you guys. I love you.
This week's listener shout out goes out to Ray Baronzik, now known as Ray Rios.
Woohoo!
Because he just recently got married to his partner, Ivan, and they're co-owners of Planty Baker. Congratulations, guys. Ray is an engineer, a vegan, an avid gardener, a talented crocheter, and of course, an amazing vegan baker. Ray, contact us with your t-shirt size and your address so I can send you a Compassion and Cucumbers swag bag. You can either email us at compassionandcucumbers@gmail.com or just DM us on Instagram and we'll get that out to you.
We sure will.
Thanks for listening, Ray, and thanks for baking.
Oh my gosh. It's been far too long since we've had your buffalo sourdough. It's got to be coming soon to a kitchen near us. It really does.
Yep. And that brings us to housekeeping.
It sure does.
Let's keep the house.
Let's do it. So we want to try your favorite vegan recipes, and we want to include them in our listener recipes segment, the next of which will be coming up in 2 weeks. So email or DM us the vegan meals you love to make.
Yeah, send us your recipes because we want to try them and then we'll talk about them on the show.
Sure will.
And also include if you would like us to share the recipe with our listeners, and we'll do that.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Here are some things you should or can subscribe to. You can subscribe to our YouTube. You can subscribe to our newsletter through our website, which is compassionandcucumbers.com. You can join our Patreon. And the links to all of these are always in the show notes.
And I'm actually going to add something to this list, something that we have not talked about yet. And this is because as I was on the train coming home from New York just a couple days ago, I was having trouble concentrating on anything that I was supposed to be doing. So instead, I decided to catch up on my Happy Cow reviews.
Oh, right.
And so you can also follow us on Happy Cow. We each have an individual Happy Cow account, and we do our reviews separately. We do not do them as a collective. So you can follow Christine on Happy Cow. She is Compassion and Cucumbers. And you can follow me. I come in at C&C Vegan.
Right. Yeah, we have a lot of reviews up there.
We do. I just put 11 of them up the other day as I was sitting on the train. So, and I've gone through and I've tagged all of the restaurants that I've been to, so I know which restaurants I still need to write reviews for.
Yeah, and if you don't have the Happy Cow app, I strongly urge you to download it to your phone because it's come in handy so many times for us when
it's
we're
invaluable
traveling.
When we're traveling.
Yeah.
You know, you just put in a place and you can put in whether you're looking for a fully vegan restaurant, whether you're looking for a place with vegan options, whether you're looking for a vegetarian place. It's really great. You can do it within distance of specific locations.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a really cool thing. Plus, there's that whole community aspect of it where you can follow other people that travel a lot and read their reviews. And it really helps that they have all those reviews, you know, because you might find a restaurant and sure, it might say they have vegan options, but you don't know if they're good or, you know, or what are the options.
Right.
And so you can scroll down and read people's review and, you know, find out what meals they had that sound good. Go from there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it does. It just offers a lot of information. That's really, really useful. We are currently doing a fundraiser for the Food Empowerment Project on our Buy Me a Coffee site. This is a new fundraiser. And keep in mind, we will be matching any donations made during this time period. So the Food Empowerment Project seeks to create a more just and sustainable world by recognizing the power of one's food choices. They encourage healthy food choices that reflect a more compassionate society by spotlighting the abuse of animals on farms, the depletion of natural resources, unfair working conditions for produce workers, and the unavailability of healthy foods in low-income areas.
Yeah, donate to that if you can. Follow Sam's Etsy site. It's Cucumber Craftworks on Etsy, and take a look at her beautiful knit scarves and other hand knit stuff. She's got handmade jewelry and bead art, and it's all vegan and, of course, made with love.
Absolutely. And no pressure to buy anything if you check it out. I'd love it if you would just follow the shop.
Yeah, check it out. Follow the shop. You'll be notified when new stuff goes up there, and, you know, when it starts to get cooler or it's getting closer to holiday time.
Be all about those scarves.
They make great gifts.
They really do.
Yeah.
Would you like to get a listener shout out like Ray did today?
Yeah.
If so, send us. You can't get a shout out.
Oh, crap.
Yeah. The rest of you, though, send us a DM or an email letting us know you listen and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, leave us a review on your podcast app, if it allows. If it doesn't allow you to leave a review, you can rate us on your podcast app. And, we're asking for the proverbial 5 stars.
Just the proverbial 5 stars?
If you think we deserve it.
Not the actual 5 stars?
If there's actual stars, yeah, we want actual stars.
Okay.
And we only want the number of stars that you think we deserve.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
If it's 1 star, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll take that.
Sure.
Criticism. Constructive criticism is good.
Oh, yeah. Always looking for it.
Absolutely. Please share the show with a friend or family member that you think would enjoy what we do, and share Christine's fantastic social media posts. It's the easiest way to support us or any of your favorite content creators, and it costs you nothing at all.
And finally, join the AFA Vegan Voter Hub and give to them monetarily if you can. The Agriculture Fairness Alliance is lobbying on our behalf so that our vegan voices are heard. If you want to make real change on the upcoming farm bill, join the Vegan Voter Hub.
And there you have it. You have just listened to episode 92 of the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast.
There's nothing left but to say,
where cukes and compassion are always the fashion on the podcast.
Thanks, James.
Have a great week, everyone.
We'll talk to you next Tuesday.
We love you.
Bye-bye.
The end.
Do you want to support the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast? Well, you can do that by joining our Patreon page. We have 3 different levels of support, and all 3 come with their own special bonuses. Hey, you can support the podcast and get yourself some really cool merch. All the links and deets are in the show notes. We'll catch you next week on the next episode of Compassion and Cucumbers.